Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to our Immigration Roundup show in English for our followers who cannot understand what we talk about on our Spanish radio shows when we share all these updates about what's going on in the world of immigration. So, hi, Yunwen. Hi, Fidel. How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. I had breakfast today for the first time in a long time, so I'm full of energy.
Oh, that's awesome. I've been doing intermittent fasting, so I still haven't had anything but coffee today. So if I lose my thought mid-sentence, that's why. I'm not actually losing my mind. How are you, Fidel?
I'm doing good. I'm like I do what you're doing, Kate, every morning. I don't really eat anything until lunchtime. So
See, you can call that intermittent fasting, and then it's like you have a plan.
It sounds more responsible.
Yeah,
maybe I should tell that to my mom.
Doing that
then. So today's topic is, why is my freaking immigration case taking so dang long? Which is a question that lots of people, millions and millions of people have had and have. And so I'm going to share some statistics with you that will kind of blow your mind. In the immigration court system, this is people who are seeking asylum or they've been caught and they've been put in deportation proceedings. There is an estimated 1.6 million cases pending in that court system, which is double the number that we had in 2018. At U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which is, work permits, green cards, citizenship, all of that, the backlog went from 5.7 million applicants at the end of 2019 to an estimated 9.5 million pending applications last month. Y'all, that's like double. And then for the State Department, which processes all the visa appointments and consular immigrant visa cases for green cards abroad, listen to this. The number of people awaiting their consular interviews went from 60,000 in 2019 to 532,000 in 2020. So if you're wondering why my freaking immigration case is taking so dang long, you're not alone. You're in good company. And we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about how to check, what to do, what to do in the meantime. As always, thank you for being here. Give us your reactions, your likes, your hearts, your angry faces if you're talking about immigration, your comments, your questions. Share this with your buddies. You know the drill. And then one other thing before I turn it over to Yunwen that I will say is it's April 20th. And there is a very, very important asylum deadline that is happening this week. It's on Friday. There is a lawsuit called Mendez Rojas, and this is a class action lawsuit protecting asylum seekers in the United States who haven't filed their asylum application within 1 year of their entry. So usually in asylum law, you have to file your I-589 asylum application within a year of the date you enter the U.S. in order to remain eligible for asylum. There's some ways to work around it, but the basic rule is file within a year, you're not eligible. Well, immigration doesn't do a very good job of communicating this 1 year deadline to people when they process them in for asylum. Nobody actually ever tells them about this deadline. And so that's what the lawsuit is about. And so all of the asylum seekers who didn't know about this rule, who have been here for longer than a year, who haven't filed their I-589 can be protected from this rule and remain eligible for asylum if they file their I-589 by 4/22/22. You got to get it in. So, and there's not like, immigration's not doing a bunch of announcements about this. There might even be immigration lawyers who don't know about this. So please, 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 if you hear this and you know someone who is impacted by this rule, send this information to them. They can call us. We can't get anyone's asylum application in by Friday. We've got all of our clients we're trying to rush, but you can file your own and just log it in to get in under the deadline and fix it later if you have to do that. So all right, let's return back to backlogs and why is my freaking immigration case taking so dang long, Yunwen, and you can ask all your questions.
Yeah. Well, my very first question is, what does it even mean when an immigration case is being processed?
Well, in the statistics that I just shared with you, you heard that there are different agencies, right? There's the Executive Office for Immigration Review, which is the immigration court system. There is U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, which does all the affirmative applications for green cards and work permits. And then there's the Department of State, which does all the consular visa appointments. And so each of these agencies processes, I don't even know, thousands of different types of applications. And they have this whole behemoth of a process where they receive packets in the mail. Most of them don't do digital filing, and they open them in the mailroom and they, I don't know, toss them up in the air and see what lands, is what it seems like they do. And then they forward it to the next person, and then that person does their job, and then they forward it to the next person, and that person does their job. And so there's this like assembly line process within each of the agencies that is extremely frustrating for us and for y'all, for the people who are applying for something within that agency, because the processing time is really long. It's really opaque, meaning the opposite of transparent. It's like, when you order a pizza from Domino's and you can like see on your phone when your pizza goes into the oven, it's the opposite of that. Immigration doesn't tell you at all what's going on behind the scenes. And so to answer Yunwen's question, what does it mean when my case is being processed? It's lost in the system of the federal agency that is processing and hopefully doing it in the normal amount of time that it takes. How's that for an answer?
I'm still cracking at your joke about tossing it up in the air, but that's really what it looks like, because
I'm going to do a demonstration. Here's me. I'm a mail processing person, and I'm going to open a packet, and I'm going to go, oh, you're missing something. I'm going to send you a rejection notice. That's how it goes.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, because I've seen it in the office. It's like the packets that they return to us where they claim that we're missing something, like we sent in that evidence, and also the one that they return to us, it's in a completely different order than what we sent it in. Like it's like we send it in completely like organized and pretty and beautiful and what we think they want to see, and then they send it back and it's a completely different order.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, that's nice. Anyway.
Yeah. Yes. And we have like core values at our firm that are very important to us about like integrity and commitment to excellence. And part of the commitment to excellence is that we have a 99% no failure rate, meaning we don't commit an error more than 1% of the time, which we don't even want that, but we acknowledge that we're all humans. We purposefully exclude immigration errors from that core value of ours because they make a lot of errors. And we do our best to avoid that for our clients and fix it when it happens, but it happens a lot. And so, if you're watching and this has happened in your own case, you're not alone. Or if you are working with a lawyer and you got a rejection for something that was actually in the packet, or a request for evidence for something that was actually in the packet, that doesn't mean that your lawyer necessarily did a bad job, because immigration does make a lot of very frustrating mistakes.
I agree with that. And then Kate, I similar to that about like lawyer mistakes opposed to like USCIS errors. Are there things that a lawyer can do to control these processing times or to like speed up the case? I know that's like one of the biggest complaints when we get new clients or leads. They tell us like, oh, my case is taking too long. My lawyer isn't doing anything about it. What are the things that we can control?
So there is, in some employment cases, there is something called premium processing, where you pay an additional fee to have your case processed quickly. That's only for a specific subset of immigration cases like E2s, for example, but the vast majority of immigration applications don't have that option. So the true benefit of working with an immigration attorney is to make sure that the strategy is set correctly at the start of the case, so that you know exactly what you're doing and you're not making any missteps in terms of where you send something or what form you send or in what order you send the forms. And that's real. We have to fix strategy mistakes, I don't know what, weekly, if not daily, for people who like Googled, how do I get a green card, and, you know, read some blog somewhere and filled out the forms totally wrong. The information is not very clear out there, and immigration is really, really complicated. It's about as complicated as the tax laws are. And so setting strategy is really critical and affects timeline immensely. And then making sure that all of the requirements are met and that the packet is done well. Like we said, it doesn't mean that you won't ever get a rejection, because immigration doesn't always do their job right. But making sure that there are no rejections or delays or requests for evidence that are due to the fault of the applicant for, you know, failure to attach all the required documents, or failure to fill out all of the blanks on the forms correctly, or failure to send it to the right lockbox. Even just picking which mailing address to send a form to is something artful. Like, it's not that, even that is not obvious. And so like all of those little potential missteps are handled when you work with a lawyer who knows what they're doing. But we don't, in general, have a phone number for someone that we can call to expedite. There are some, like, in some small cases, for example, if someone has a U visa pending and they're in deportation proceedings and they're detained, sometimes we can get the prosecutor to reach out to CIS and get a quick answer on something. But those are very, very few and far between. For the most part, attorneys can't make a case go faster, but they can make sure a case is done correctly and there aren't unnecessary delays.
Wow. And so why do some cases take longer than others? For example, if, you know, somebody's applying for a green card versus citizenship, why is there a time difference?
Well, I mean, the cases are processed at different offices that are staffed by different people that have different levels of scrutiny and discretion. You know, a waiver is going to have hundreds and hundreds of pages, and a brief, and an officer who's going to really spend a lot of time on one packet. Whereas green card renewal is something that's just going to go really quickly, and it's going to be at a different office, managed by a different person, who's supervised by a different person. And so it just really depends on the type of case and where it goes. But also, many case types have caps on the amount of approvals that can go out each year. And so oftentimes people, like for a U visa, they're on a wait list because Congress limited the number of U's that can be granted every year.
And I have an example about that, because right now, as many of y'all know, like, I did advanced parole, so I started following a lot of groups. So it's like the advanced paroles that were sent to the Texas Service Center, none of them have been approved. Like, it's like ever. So, or like even taking a decision on them, they're just sitting there at the Texas Service Center, opposed to like all these other ones. By the way, we're seeing approvals as of February, so they're down to like 2 months processing time for advanced parole.
It was at 9 months.
Yeah, it was when I filed mine. Like, mine took 6 months when I filed it in August. But it's like the Nebraska Service Center is doing such a better job at those, and maybe all the ones that make it to the Texas Service Center are lost there. I don't know.
Well, and I think that brings up a good point, Fidel, that oftentimes people get transfer notices while their application is pending, and it doesn't necessarily, that's not a good or a bad thing. So it could mean that your advanced parole is going to an office that's going to process it faster. But sometimes cases get processed and then they get black holed. So I wouldn't take a transfer notice either good or bad. It just is, and you don't have any control. If immigration decides that yours is one of the cases that's getting transferred to another office, there's no use in fighting it or wishing that it weren't the case. So just accept it and then move on, and we'll see from there. And you can check the processing times at the new office where the packet has been sent. And maybe, maybe this is a good time to show how to check that. What do y'all think? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here. So I won't spend a lot of time here because I know for people who are watching on their phones, it's kind of hard to see. But all you have to do is Google. We're talking about USCIS. These are applications for, green cards and work permits and citizenship and advance parole. Google USCIS for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service processing times. And then it'll be the first result. And it'll take you to this page where you enter the form number of your application. And then you enter the office where it's being processed. So we'll do the example that Fidel just talked about. So the I-131 is the advance parole document. And you'll know this because once you file your application, you'll get a receipt notice that shows the type of form that it was and which service center is processing it, because the processing times are by service center and you have to put the one where yours is. So you said the Nebraska service center is looking good, Fidel?
Yeah, I don't know what they have on there. See, that's
so
like
this is actually a really good example, because remember, Fidel just said it's taken a couple of months at the Nebraska Service Center. It's really fast. But their posted processing time is between 10 and a half and 14 and a half months. So that's actually pretty normal, the processing time that we see in practice is usually much faster than the posted processing time. So that's one thing. If you go to check your posted processing time and you have a total panic attack, keep in mind it probably will be faster than what's up there. But the other thing that's really important to know is that you can't even do a case inquiry with USCIS until your case has been pending longer than the posted processing time. So if you have filed an advance parole document and it's with the Nebraska Service Center, don't waste your time doing a case status inquiry 10 months after you file it, because all they're going to do is write back and say it's within the posted processing time, so leave us alone.
Actually, I think the system won't even let you submit it if you
if you're going to do it online. And then you can also call the customer service line. What is it? 1-800-375 5883. I should know it, but that's another thing that's really easy to Google. I would say maybe it's the worst customer service line out there. I don't know if y'all can think of a worse one.
No, I have personally dealt with them and it was not pleasant.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. So just prepare yourself, get a cup of tea and do some breathing exercise. But let's see, what else another one that we should look at is the U visa. I mentioned the U visa to you guys as one of the case types that has a cap on it. So Congress, when they passed the U visa for crime victims, they said only 10,000 a year can be granted. And way, way more than that apply every year for the U visa. So there's a super long backlog. Those get processed. They used to only be at the Vermont Service Center. They added Nebraska for some overflow, but we'll go to Vermont since it's the main U visa site. And look at this, 59.5 to 63.5 months for a U visa. So super long time. One teeny, form of relief or silver lining, or I don't even know what phrase we want to use, is that we are seeing bona fide determinations for complete U visa applications filed that can lead to work permit eligibility before the approval. But even that is taking about 4 years right now. So the U visa you're signing up for a really long wait time when you file for a U visa, and you need to just know that when you get going. But that's how you check what your processing time is with USCIS, and that can be a really useful tool. You can also, when you have your receipt number, check your own case status using your receipt number. But it's, like I said, it's not like Domino's where they're only going to give you, we've received it, it's pending, a notice has been mailed. Those are the updates. They will also tell you if a request for evidence has been mailed, but you're not going to get a ton of info from those check-ins.
And you might be wondering where you find the office that's processing your case, and that's going to be in the receipt notice that they send you. At the bottom left is where it's found, and it will tell you the office that's processing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you can find it. So once you have your receipt notice, you can use all of these tools to check the status and see how long they're taking and kind of get an estimate so that you can make plans or just just have some expectation, because that's while you're waiting, like I think that's the hardest part of a case is just the waiting time. So that can help alleviate a little bit of that stress.
Oh yeah, I remember this last DACA renewal. I was really stressed because I sent out um, my renewal 9 months ahead of time, and I got my approval a few days before it expired. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall out of status. I'm going to have to quit my job. I'm going to have to." I was freaking out, and I mean that was like almost 2 years ago. So this year it's time to renew again. So I think it's time again for some more anxiety, as always. So sounds fun. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
and it's kind of hard, especially with DACA. That's where all of my experience is from. But like last year, for example, cases were taking so long, and like some of the newer ones that were filed were processed faster than the older ones that had been sitting there. So it's kind of hard to like even compare it to your friends, because it's like it's all different. Like I had some friends who were waiting for like almost a year for their renewals, and then I sent mine in, and it was like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's kind of hard to like base it even off of that, for sure.
No, definitely. It's always just anytime I like dealing with immigration. This is why I never do my DACA renewals on my own, because I know that my anxiety is going to win over, and I always will be like, if it goes a little bit over time, maybe if I'm waiting too long, I'll be like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? Are they going to deny it? It's like, no, I'm not taking that chance at all.
I mean, and that brings up another reason to work with a lawyer, is because there's a ton of anxiety when your application is pending. And there's usually a lot of questions that come up about, like, I'm changing addresses. What do I need to do? Or I want to travel. Can I? Does it affect my case? Or why is it taking so long? Or what does this transfer notice mean? Or what does this other notice mean? And it's really great to have someone you can call to answer all those questions for you for peace of mind.
And Kate, another question that I thought of before we started sharing the processing times, is there any, like, how do you decide what office your application goes to? And like, do you have any control over that? Because that's also another common complaint that we get. And like people, by the time it comes to filing their application, they're like, I want it to be sent to this office because it's processing faster. Like, do we have that actual control, or is it just mandatory to send it? How do you decide?
Yeah, we have no choice about where we send immigration applications. They tell us where we send it, and oftentimes it's based on where the applicant is living. And then if they decide to transfer it to another office, again, that's completely out of our hands. So there is no forum shopping with affirmative applications. When people are in immigration court, the court they're supposed to be in is the court where they're living. But sometimes people do move while their case is pending. As we showed you, there's 1.6 million cases pending. It can take many, many years. And oftentimes people move out of state while their case is pending. And at that point, you can make a strategic decision as a respondent in immigration court about whether you move to transfer your case to a new court. And sometimes you will look at what are the approval rates of the court where I'm going. You know, if I'm living in, I don't know, Atlanta, which has really low rates, and I'm moving to San Francisco, which has really high rates of approval, probably would be worth a change of venue. But you can only do that in immigration court. And then, of course, only if you already are moving. But otherwise, forum shopping is pretty much not an option when you are an immigrant applying for a benefit. And Fidel, I just have to say, let's highlight you up on the screen again, because like the light in your equality poster is so freaking cool. I love that. You need to take a picture.
I did
Yeah.
that on purpose, actually. When I hung it up, I was like, I wonder if, since it's white, I wonder if the light will shine it up. But it's pretty cool.
It looks
It is
great.
really, really cool. I love it. And
We're
it's
getting
almost
ready.
Pride Month.
Yeah, I was about to say we're getting ready for Pride Month early.
Yeah. Well, it's 6 weeks early. We still got to get through May first. But
I hope it happens, because I came out in 2019, and then they were all canceled.
Wait,
Oh,
I
my
came out in
couldn't been able to
2019.
Pride.
I came out the same year too.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty funny.
Did you
Yeah.
guys talk about it then? Were you in communication in 2019? Not
I
really.
don't-
You've known each
not
other a
really.
long time.
Yeah, but I don't think that we like. I mean, my coming out wasn't really like you know. I remember sitting down like at this diner with my mom, and I was crying. And this is so off topic, but I was crying, and I was like, "Mom, I have to tell you something." And I was like, "I'm gay." And like I whispered it to her because there were like other people around. She was like, "I know." I was so mad. I was like, "Could you like let me have my moment?" So yeah, that's how it happened.
Oh, that's a good one. I love to hear coming out stories, the happy ones anyway. You know, they're just like so heartwarming when parents handle it right, you know?
Definitely. I'm like, let me go to the comments now.
All right, Fidel, give us the comments.
Yes, we're gonna do a shout out to those that have been reacting to our video. So we have Goni here that is joining us, and she actually has a question for us. So let me get to that in a moment. But also Abraham, thank you so much for joining us and liking our video. Give it some thumbs up, some hearts, especially if you like this, if you agree with everybody else on here. But we have some comments from Jessie. She says, "Hola, abogada." And then Saul is also joining us from YouTube, and he just sends us 100 on there and some sunshine, which is great because it's cloudy here. So I do appreciate that little sun on there. And then Catherine is also joining us from YouTube, and she says, "Good morning. Thanks for all the information you all always give us," and sends us a little heart. Then Abraham is also giving a useful tip. So he says, "Wow, now we know we just got to be patient and the process will arrive for sure. Thank you. I feel like I've been waiting mine forever." And then he does a little laughing. Ha ha ha. So
It's like a laugh
so,
cry.
yes,
You know, like
it's a weird laugh when you're waiting, and I mean we've been there, so I know exactly what you're feeling, Abraham. So for sure. And then Connie, her question, let me see, it's in Spanish, but it says, "Buenos días. ¿Aceptan casos de asilo para un menor de edad nacional mexicano? Ya le llegó la hoja al padre para que el padre se presente a corte, pero no sabe qué prosigue y si necesita abogado para llevar ese caso."
Okay, this is a question about whether we take asylum cases for minors, and it looks like the father is already in a court proceeding. So my answer is going to be absolutely. We can handle those cases, and we need to know whether the child is involved in the same case or not. But there's often other options for children. So this is somebody I would want to talk to in a consultation, and we could talk through all the options. So hola, Connie, gracias por su pregunta. Debemos consultar en privado si podemos manejar casos para menores de edad de asilo, pero necesito saber si él está incluido en el caso de deportación del papá o no, porque eso va a decidir si podemos meter una solicitud afirmativa para él o si él califica para otro tipo de beneficio. Entonces debemos consultar específicamente sobre las opciones del niño.
Pero sí, entonces nada más que se comunique con nosotros y por supuesto que le podemos ayudar con ese caso. Y aquí está el número de teléfono, es el 855-502-0555. Ahí está el número de teléfono. Perfecto. Y Kate, regresando al tema.
We're an English show today, Fidel.
Well, there you go. Well, going back to our topic today, I do have another question about the fees and what are those used for? And then also, like, part of the process once you file, there's the biometrics. So do you have to pay an additional fee at that appointment?
Okay, so the fees that you pay with your immigration application are they fund the immigration agency to do the work that they do. And one of the ways that showed up is when there was government shutdowns in the last several years when Congress couldn't get it together to agree on a budget and a bunch of agencies shut down. USCIS kept going because they're funded by these fees that people pay for their applications. And biometric fees are always going to be included in whatever fee it is that you're paying. So that's, you look that up on the website. And if the case is one that requires biometrics, that fee will be included in the amount that you need to send in. Sometimes it's added separately, sometimes not. And then you'll go to about the middle of your case, you'll go in and they'll take your photo and do your fingerprints. And the purpose of that is to confirm identity and do a background check, as part of the process. And they like to do it early so that by the time you get to the final decision point or like the interview, the officer already has all they need to know about your background. They've already checked with the FBI and all of that, and they can just do an approval if the background checks are clear. So it's good to get that done early. And that's why they do it.
And I have one last question. I know that we're, at our time, but to end or to finish this off, why do some visas have a cap? I know that you mentioned it earlier that, it's controlled by Congress, but why is there even a necessity to limit the amount of visas?
Well, it's the overall immigration system has allocations for immigrants or non-immigrants who are, temporary visa holders, depending upon the type of applicant it is and depending upon the country of origin. And that's just something that Congress does. It's in major need of review and revision and overhaul. It's like decades old. And so it's problematic in so many ways, that they'll only allocate a certain percentage of visas to people from Mexico so that U.S. citizens who want to petition their siblings or their adult children from Mexico are waiting more than 20 years because Mexico has a high rate of immigration in the U.S. because it's a neighboring country. And so, it doesn't make sense that we limit it. But the U visa is another example where Congress limited that to 10,000 a year. It's too low. And so there's way more people applying. Another example is the H-1B visa for professional skilled workers who are performing jobs in the United States for our employers and our economy. This is a thing that's important to everyone. And a typical worker for an H-1B is someone who maybe studied in the U.S., even graduate school in the U.S. They've got really specialized knowledge and they're needed for a job at a U.S. company, but that company can't get them the visa that they need because there's a stupid cap. And so a lot of these, they call it a brain drain, that a lot of these people are going to other countries. They're going to Canada. They're going where they can get legal status and they don't have to fight so hard. So it's a broken system, but the root of it all is that Congress is supposed to be managing and deciding how many immigrants we have from which group of people. It's just that they don't actually they don't make revisions and decisions because they're so gridlocked with political infighting. Very frustrating.
Yeah, so that was all of the questions that I had for today. I don't know if you had any left.
What would you say, Kate, to somebody that is in the situation where their case is taking super long, especially like I would say like the U visas, for example? What would you say during this waiting time?
I would say get clear on, knowing yourself how to check your processing time, how to check your case status. So you have a way to do that yourself. It gives you some sense of, power and control over the situation. Work with an attorney whom you trust, and an indication that you're with an attorney who maybe is not taking good care of you is if they just won't talk to you or call you back or give you updates on your case. You should and can expect your attorney and the people in their office to be in regular communication with you, even if your case is pending for 5 years. We have a client care team, and Caro on our client care team makes a phone call to every single client at least once a month with an update about what's going on with their case, even if we have no news. And we have a 24-hour callback to our clients. So if someone calls us and they need something from us, we will get back to you within 24 hours. So that's the kind of thing you should be able to expect from your lawyer. And if you're not getting that, then it makes sense, I think, to explore other options. But if your case is taking a long time and your attorney is talking to you about it, that doesn't necessarily mean that your lawyer's not doing a good job. Because like we said, lawyers can't necessarily speed up the processing of cases. And, 95% of the case types. There's nothing a lawyer can do to move it forward more quickly.
I'd say it's also useful to remind everybody to keep their address updated with USCIS, just to make sure that you're receiving all the notices on your case, and also checking your mail. People forget to check their mail, and that's the way that USCIS is going to communicate with you. Most likely, they're not going to call you, they're not going to email you, but they will send notices through the mail. So make sure that you update your address when you move. Kate, is there a requirement for that? Updating your address?
There's a regulation about it. I want to say you have to update within 5 days, but it's quick. So, I would say do it the day you move if you can. Usually, where you're going a little bit early. And so that's just like you have to transfer. It's a hassle to move. You got to pack all your stuff, but you also got to call the, Austin Energy and call the gas and blah, 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 and just add immigration to that list of homework items, and you'll be good.
And you can do it online. Just Google USCIS change of address, and you can do it there. So,
and we help our clients with that too. Like if you are a client and you're watching and you're moving, we'll help you with that. So
that's it. It's my last thing.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Don't forget to share. Send us your comments and questions. If you want a consultation in private to talk about your own case, feel free to call us at this number, 855-502-0555, or you can message us on Facebook, or you can fill out the form on our website, or, I don't know, find us on TikTok. We're easy to find. So we'll see you around. Thanks, everybody.